Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pokemon Perfect 2022 ADV Championship Round of 8. Bit of a mouthful there, but that is what the name of the tournament is, and that is the round that we're in. It is Stratos, also known as Jumpy23. You may recognize him from Kalos Invitational Play-ins, in which he lost to Bush Tush and somehow found the courage to continue playing Pokemon. Most people, having lost to Bush Tush in ADV, would have in fact quit the tier. But he has persisted, and here he is. He's going to be against the 918th, who for a long time I just knew as a viewer of my channel, but in recent years, year or two, has gotten involved in tournaments and has a couple decent results. I believe that he made the finals of one of the ADV Opens on Pokemon Perfect. I think he qualified for this tour, obviously this year, but I think he might have last year as well. He plays Mushi League. Yeah, he's been pretty involved in side tours and has developed into a pretty good player. The way that these guys got here, Jumpy, Stratos, he defeated Sheik in the round of 16, and the 918th defeated Kenix. So, pretty cool matchup here, and the winner here is going to face, well, I don't know if I should spoil it for you. Go back and watch the first video from the round of 8. The winner of that match, that's who we're going to be against here in the round of 4. But first, we need a winner. So let's figure out who that is. It is 918th on the bottom, and it's Stratos, Jumpy23, on the top. Best of 3. Titar lead, Hariyama lead. Advantage Hariyama. Very often you're going to see him click knockoff in this situation because it's really hard for Titar to stay in. And that is what happens here. Claydol coming in is going to lose his lefties. And it's a double back to Titar, which is interesting. I guess he was worried about Psychic, which is why Hari didn't stay in. But imagine had he stayed in and knocked off or Brick Breaked there and just completely messed up the Tar. Cloyster comes in and also loses his lefties, but not before getting Alaris Spikes down, which obviously is what you want to do. So one or both. I mean, Claydol's going to have spin, but Cloyster may or may not also have spin, so it could be a double spinner team. Not clear. It's certainly going to be a boom spam team by the looks of it. I assume that all of Doll, Lax, and the Cloyster do in fact have boom. Going to go for Focus Punch. There are at least 2 fighting resistances for Stratos. I mean, I guess Meta's not a fighting resist, but like it takes Focus Punch is fine. Starmie is a proper resist. Meteor Mash with the attack raise. And he's going to be outsped and boomed before he can do anything else. But I guess it's going to be a really fast Titar if he's coming in this situation. It might be plus speed here. It might be plus speed mixed is a common set. Guaktar, as the cool kids call it these days. That doesn't seem like a great trade. Over prediction Fire Blast there is going to be pretty underwhelming against Mence, just 20%, only to be immediately Brick Break down. So Stratos, pretty early on, just a dozen turns in, is pretty far ahead. Back to Bliss, back to Hari. T-Bolt, 36%, sure. Worried about a boom potentially. Here's Doll, and that's going to eat a Hidden Power Bug or Ghost, depending on what he thinks the team needs more. Starmie comes into what he feels is an obvious Psychic aimed at Hariyama. Starmie obviously resisting that, doesn't care, and is now going to opt for Surf, which bounces off for sub 20 to the Lax, which has shown Focus Punch, and he's going to Focus Punch again, in fact. But Meta takes it neutrally for just 27%. We know it's a bulky Metagross. He already showed us Protect. But instead, he's going to go for Mash, and 918th, who's pretty far behind right now, feels he's got a fish for Para. But he gets it. And that's going to allow the follow-up Shadow Ball and a full Para. Gives him an opportunity here for a crit or another full Para. Goes to Doll, perhaps thinking that it was going to be a Protect turn from Stratos, but it was not. Now it's going to be. And, of course, Earthquake rather than Boom. Question is, does he Boom now? And the answer is yes. And it's going to take Blissey down with it, leaving us in a 5-3 situation with an unrevealed on both sides. Now it matters whether Hari's HP is Bug or Ghost. And we now know that it is Ghost, since he went forward into the Gar, and since the Lax was immune to it. However, it is certainly not immune to that Brick Break. Down goes the Lax. Stratos really far ahead in this game. I mean, Rachi is one of those mons that could just get you back out of just about anything. It's one of those BS mons that can just get there. Certainly the T-Wave is going to make that a lot harder, though it does cost the Starmie its life. Salamence should nevertheless be able to clean this up. Earthquake there from a CB Mens is going to take out the Rachi. And it's only Gengar remaining for Stratos, which, like, I don't know. I mean, in theory, the Gengar could get there. HP Ghost from Hari is going to be tough, but, like, you can just crit it or freeze it or something, and then you one-hit KO the Mens with Ice Punch, so depending on the last for Jumpy, he's got a shot here, actually. And there you go. There's the freeze. Ah, but he insta-thaws. Okay, well, he still has the out of a critical hit or refreezing him. I don't like Thunderbolt there. I would have gone Ice Punch because the added effect, if you get the freeze, you might be good. Whereas if you get the para there, you still, a lot of the time, just lose anyway. So I think that was a minor mistake at the end. I don't know if he calced it or not, but it looked like the Thunderbolt came up pretty well short, and like based on how much damage the Ice Punch was doing, I think you can reasonably assume there that the Thunderbolt was not going to kill the vast majority of the time, possibly ever. So I think that was a minor mistake at the end. Going for T-Bolt, I think you go Ice Punch there because a crit gets him either way, and a freeze is better than a para. But just a nitpick. As a whole, that game was not super close, though it may or may not have been scary at the end, depending on the last poke for Stratos. Like I said, the Salamence in all likelihood would have been outsped and simply one-hit KO'd by Ice Punch, and if Hari had gotten crit or frozen or just not insta-thawed or whatever, it would have come down to a 1v1 between the last poke, which we never did see, and the Gengar. Obviously, depending on what that was, who knows. But Jumpy23 with a Game 1 lead. So let's go over to Game 2 in, as a reminder, a best-of-3 series. So the 918th is going to have to win this game and a potential Game 3, or he's going to be out in the round of 8. Here is this game, keeping the players where they were with 918th on the bottom and Stratos on the top. A classic and dangerous matchup here where they both threaten each other with things like CB Brick Break, CB Rock Slide, Ice Beam, what have you. Neither one is comfortable and they both switch, and 918th gets the better end with Zapdos on Skarm. Skarm does not stay in, and he's going to take the opportunity to sub up, which he's going to pass. And it's going to be insta-popped, but T-Tar staring down Blissey here, which is always a little bit nerve-wracking for the nurse. Focus Punch comes down, and it's going to level Swampert for 52%. That might be CB-Tar there. Yeah, it's a lefty Swampert also, so I'm thinking that is actually Choice Band Tyranitar, which is why that did so much. Swampert will be able to lefties back up, and I'm not sure what Drill Peck was trying to catch there. That feels kind of like a click. Was he just sniping random Heracross or Breloom switching or something? I don't know what the Drill Peck was. I would not have done that, but that's what he did. Nevertheless, he does have a layer of spikes down, which Jumpy has not yet shown a spinner. Doesn't mean he doesn't have one. Could easily be Starmie or whatever in the back. S-Toss is going to show that it is not a 404 HP Tar, which if it is CB Tar, which I believe that it is, that makes sense. And he's going to Rock Slide with a crit. That is certainly CB Tar, and that is going to be an ill-timed Protect for the Skarm. That's going to prevent him from getting any layers of spikes. Had he just spiked there once, at least he would have that. But he protects into Magneton, which is always a nightmare. And he's going to be without his Skarm and without spikes for the rest of the game. So 918th looking relatively promising in this one. Though apparently he doesn't have a switch into Mixed Mens, which might make this trickier than it needs to be. Got Jolteon, huh? This is the old BKC team. Is it Last Poke Metagross? This team is very vulnerable to Mixed Mens if in fact it is Last Poke Gross. And Rock Slide missing there is a nice break for Stratos as well. The damage would not have been ridiculous on Swampert, but it is Choice Banded, so would have been more than nothing. Toxic on Pert on the way out is pretty good, though, unless it happens to be a refresh Pert. But regardless, that leaves us in a 5-5 with unreveals on both sides. Swampert is still suffering from the poison, and that is another ill-timed Protect. This time it's 918th committing the sin. And there is the Surf in retaliation for lair number 2. Back he goes to Zapdos, who takes the Surf just fine, 31%, certainly representing HP Grass here. And back to Gar. And yeah, that is not very effective. If it were Ice, it would have been neutral, so it's not a bluff. It is in fact HP Grass. Here comes Skarm, which takes the Ice Punch, okay, but a follow-up Fire Punch or Thunderbolt, it would not survive. But he Ice Punches again, perhaps tempting him to stay in. Also, Ice Punch is a lovely neutral move if there is a switch. But he does go to Thunderbolt, which he's got to be a little careful about because he could Thunderbolt into the Jolteon and Volt Absorb it. But that's not what happened there. Skarm goes down. 2 layers is going to be the magic number. More RNG, though. Will-O-Wisp, 75-25, doesn't get there. Rock Slide, irrelevant crit. Going to take out the Gengar. Leaves us in a 4-4, still with an unrevealed for each player. Now Rock Slide misses for the second time this game. There has been some RNG in this one, and that is going to get the CB-Tar Toxic. I don't agree with 918 staying into Rock Slide again there, but he's going to go for it yet again. Apparently he doesn't think his CB-Tar has use in the future. I don't agree with that. I personally would have switched there, but he sees it differently, and that leaves us in a 3-4 situation. Zapdos going to have to do the work. Does substitute, but if he Baton passes, then that Intimidate is going to come with him. Here's Bliss stepping on spikes. And there is T-Bolt. Blissey totally safe to Soft-Boiled here. Or she could take the more aggressive route and pop the sub. Going to go for the safe route of Soft-Boiled. Can't blame her. Not sure what Jolteon plans to do here. Probably not too much against Blissey. Roar, sure. That feels unexciting. But the last poke, which we see is T-Tar, is revealed. Gonna get out of the way, though. And Thunderbolt, sure. Blissey still does not care. Blissey seeming like a real issue here for 918th. And it is the last poke meta that I envisioned, only to be instantly T-waved. Quite poor. And I believe Jumpy is looking good to take this game as well. He's going to try to Agility as a way to get around the paralysis. Does he Agility again on the Protect? I think that was a bad Protect. I think there's been a lot of bad Protects this game. Earthquake, sure. Takes 28% from Surf, not a huge deal. Do you Agility? Yep. Agility on the Protect. Paralyze meta is fast meta. Do we Agility again? Could have, but he goes for Earthquake instead. Surf, well, that's Torrent range, so down goes meta, and that's probably the game because I don't believe the 2 Electrics can break Blissey now, regardless of what hidden powers they have for the Swampert and the Salamence, what have you. Bigger issue is you need right now like a crit or a para, full para. As it turns out, a crit would not have even done it. So you need para, full para, and then some hacks on the following turn. Doesn't come, and I think we're done. I don't think the Electrics can break Blissey anymore. Gets the para now, which is insult to injury, but it's simply too little too late. If she even cared about that, she could just switch out of it. Which, man, Jumpy's playing very conservatively. He's completely unwilling to let any hacks happen to the Bliss. Gets out of the way and sheds that para. There's Rock Slide, and it's only Zapdos remaining. I think it is unwinnable for 918th. Thunderbolt comes up short and speeds things along, but even had that somehow killed, you just don't beat the Blissey from this position. And Jumpy is going to take this one down 2-0. 3-0 the game, but 2-0 the match is what I meant, and I think you guys know that. Hey, relatively straightforward set here. I think that this team that 918th used here, like I said, this is a well-known BKC team from a number of years ago. BKC, obviously a great builder, but this team is a bit outdated. It is very vulnerable to mixed mans, as you saw here. Really nothing switches into it, like, at all. It's one of the worst Pokemon for this team. Nothing switches into it. And I think that's one of the issues with the team. I think the core structure of the team has potential, and I think you can build on this concept in a more modern way. But the team in its older form, which is what this is, like I said, what switches into mixed men's? The answer was nothing. Not that that dominated this game, not that that's the reason 918th lost, but I think this game illustrates one of the bigger flaws of the team. But anyhow, that tangent aside, like I said, Jumpy going to take it down. 918th, another decent year in ADV, qualifying for this tour, winning a round in this championship tour. Hats off for an ever-improving player. But it is Jumpy23 who could not make it out of play-ins in Kalos Invitational 6, now in the top 4 of the Pokemon Perfect 2022 ADV Championship, where he will face, I'm going to spoil it for you, so like I said, go back and watch the damn video if you haven't already. He will face Fradazi in the top 4. That has already been decided. The real question is what happens in the other match, because Jimothy Cool and PK Leach, at the time of this recording, has not yet been played. The other thing that I hinted in the most recent video, and I'm only going to touch on this very briefly at the end, I'm hoping, and I make no promises, but I am hoping to make a fairly large announcement in the next 24 hours. I make no promises. It's not entirely within my control, but that is the plan, and it's looking very likely. And I have something that I want to share with you guys that I'm thinking some of you guys are going to really like. So stay tuned for that. Just a little teaser. It's on the way. If not tomorrow, probably tomorrow, then soon. But keep your eyes peeled. Alright, too long on the outro. Apologies. Thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.